Introduction. Hello everyone. Japan is a country known for its incredible technological progress, which makes it all the more surprising to see how women are treated there. As if the country has forgotten what century it is, we will delve into the lives of women in Japan, discussing strange and even wild traditions, social restrictions, and the famous Japanese stewardesses for whom men save up for years to fly business class. Historical background. The primary religion in Japan is Buddhism, and according to its teachings, women are assigned a less favorable role. They are blamed for almost every sin, and the only way to save these unfortunate women is through reincarnation as men, achievable only through unconditional submission and strict limitations. This is why Japan is often referred to as a land of traditions. Attempts have been made to change this state of affairs, such as the Civil Code of 1898, which was developed by the Japanese. It was based on the French model, but still significantly restricted women's rights and effectively legalized patriarchal family relationships, making the necessary adjustments to favor men. Centuries-old traditions define the lifestyle of Japanese women, who, like their great-great-great-grandmothers, play the roles of mother, wife, homemaker. Even though in 1947 Japan adopted a constitution stating that women are equal to men, old traditions persist in the minds of the Japanese, leading to the problems we will discuss further. Certainly, the cult of serving men has diminished due to modern trends, but most women still learn the tea ceremony, attend a special bride school before marriage, and prepare themselves to serve their husbands throughout their lives. It may seem strange now, but from a very young age, girls are treated as special by exposing them to deprivations that will be present in their adult lives, which we will certainly discuss in more detail later. How are girls raised? From a young age, parents instill in girls the idea that the most important and mandatory goal in their lives is to marry successfully and correctly, devoting their entire lives to serving their husbands and families. As soon as a girl is born into a Japanese family, parents begin the systematic process of raising the ideal future wife. Even the choice of higher education for a girl is related to this goal. Will a diploma help her secure a successful match? If a family has both a son and a daughter, the difference in treatment between them is striking. Parents treat their son more attentively, with greater respect than their daughter. They allow him privileges and opportunities that are never extended to their daughter. And they don't demand from their son what they expect from their daughter. This way, a girl becomes accustomed to feeling like second class, which, according to parents and society, will teach her to treat her husband and men in general with the proper deference. This is not done out of malice, of course. It's just how history has shaped things. Even when considering Japanese children's childhood, you can see this in the simplest thing: ordinary cartoons, which we all loved. In many Japanese animated films, the girl always serves as a helper and support to a man. Even when she seems to be the main character, she either has a mentor or simply a man who approves and encourages her. Girls in this series assist the heroes. They all have long hair, big eyes, are perfectly shaped, and they're charming. Essentially, it propagates a distinctly male view of women's roles. They should be obedient, kind, and attractive. But if this begins in childhood, what does an adult Japanese woman face if, for example, she doesn't get married or decides to live like a normal person? What's shameful for women? First, let's clarify that there is no legislative persecution here. All taboos are the result of traditions and upbringing. Women are bound by shame and society's disapproval, which is deeply rooted in historical heritage. For instance, it's considered shameful and indecent if you're seen chewing or showing your teeth while eating. In many cases, Japanese women bypass this taboo by covering the lower parts of their face with their fist while eating in a cafe. Often, women on dates simply sit with a drink, smiling and engaging in conversation while the man eats. You can also see this in anime, but sometimes you might not notice it without knowing the context. A specific dress code is another significant issue. Have you ever wondered why Japanese women almost always wear shapeless shirts and jackets, but with incredibly short skirts and heels? Displaying cleavage and exposing one's upper body is considered indecent, which applies to fitted clothing. There's no need to show off your figure. However, there are no restrictions on showing your legs, and women take full advantage of this. High heels are a separate story. There's even a social media movement demanding the removal of internal rules at some corporations that require women to wear heels of a certain height. Many women spend 12 hours in the office wearing them, and it's hard for a man to imagine what a pleasure that is. It's highly embarrassing if someone realizes that a woman has entered a restroom for its intended purpose. To hide the purpose of their visit, women used to flush the toilet continuously, creating a noise curtain. Nowadays, public restrooms have devices that play the sound of running water. You just need to press a button. A similar button can be found on smart toilets with a multitude of functions. We may find these features amusing, but in Japan, they're social necessities. Okay, but if a Japanese woman gets married, what is expected of her in the family? Responsibilities of a modern Japanese wife. Everything and a bit more, as Japanese society adheres to the Denson Johi model. This common expression means respect the man, despise the woman. For men, it is customary to address their wives informally, using the Japanese pronoun you, typically reserved for inferiors. Meanwhile, wives address their husbands formally using vu, a respectful form of address. A married Japanese man believes that his duty as a husband is fulfilled if he provides his wife with housing and enough money for living. In return, he expects from his perspective only one thing: compliance. Moreover, Japanese girls should not defeat boys, let alone their husbands, in anything, be it a sport or a video game. A Japanese girl may face ridicule merely for winning against a boy in a local judo competition. Every Japanese wife should wake up before her husband to prepare breakfast and pack his lunch for work. A Japanese man can work for 12 hours or more, yet he must look impeccable, so laundry and ironing clothes are also the wife's tasks. Regarding infidelity, Japanese wives typically choose to ignore their husband's transgressions. In the case of a scandal, they would be deemed at fault by society and their families. Japan doesn't force women to quit working after marriage. It's their personal choice whether to continue their careers. However, a Japanese woman can only make this choice if it doesn't interfere with her family responsibilities. Consequently, many young women opt not to get married and instead focus on their careers, affecting Japan's birth rate. Yet, even with a career, things are quite challenging. Let's delve into that. Work and women in Japan. One of the most developed countries in the world ranks 120th out of 156 countries in terms of gender equality. Even the UAE ranks 72nd, ahead of Japan, and Muslim countries are also ahead. The Japanese world has been, is, and will remain primarily for men. Both genders work equally hard, including overtime and days off. However, according to statistics, women's salaries are almost half that of men. Women are rarely officially hired but are often employed on a contract basis. This is because it's much more advantageous in case of maternity leave, as there are no insurance payments, pension contributions, or other subsidies that male employees receive. It's worth noting that for many women it's genuinely more profitable to stay with their child than to work, because after 7 months the government no longer covers daycare costs, which can be astronomical. The main category of women with permanent jobs, accounting for about 40% of all working women in Japan, is office ladies, with low salaries and little responsibility. They perform secretarial and other low-skilled tasks for their male colleagues. Of course, there are women who genuinely climb the career ladder, achieve success, and earn the respect of their colleagues. Unfortunately, the system is structured in a way that makes it much easier for men to achieve these things. Except for the famous Japanese stewardesses, about whom we'll talk later. There, men are not needed. Real social restrictions still in effect. Prohibited from ascending the imperial throne, even the heiress. According to the imperial house law, women of the royal family are not allowed to ascend the chrysanthemum throne, although in the past princesses have occasionally taken the throne. In modern society, they have decided to place this complex responsibility solely on strong male shoulders. Even if there are no male heirs, the throne will pass to distant relatives, but only through the male lineage. Climbing Mount Omine. Mount Omine, also known as Mount Sanjo, located in the Nara Prefecture, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of the 100 most famous mountains in Japan. It is situated in a sacred area that is part of pilgrimage routes in the Kia mountain range. At the summit of Mount Omine stands the Omine Sanji Temple, and women are forbidden from entering this temple. According to ancient Shinto tradition, the beauty and seductive nature of women distract pilgrims from their ascetic duties. Although foreigners and tourists are generally allowed, local women face open hostility and some don't even attempt to enter. Capsule hotels not for women. A purely Japanese invention that has gained popularity worldwide, but women are not particularly welcome in such hotels. As bizarre as it may sound in our time, many capsule hotels have signs prohibiting women from entering. Originally, these hotels were designed for two categories of guests: businessmen who needed a place to stay near their office for an early start the next morning, and partygoers from the suburbs of major cities who missed their train home after a night of revelry. Both of these categories in Japan consist exclusively of men, so hotel owners decided to shield them from the corrupting influence of the fairer sex. Women forbidden from sumo. It might not sound surprising, but women are not only forbidden from directly participating in sumo matches, but are also prohibited from entering the ring area, even with a ticket or crossing the dohyo ring. Furthermore, all referees are exclusively male. This is due to religious considerations, since sumo has Shinto roots. You might say, you've seen female sumo. Why are you misleading us? Yes, there is indeed a women's league, but it is not officially recognized by the Sumo Federation. It's essentially an underground scene, and it faces condemnation. Ban on women as head chefs. The documentary film Jiro Dreams of Sushi stirred up controversy in Japan, especially after renowned sushi chefs claimed that women are unsuitable as chefs due to the fluctuating temperature of their hands during the menstrual cycle, which they believe could spoil the taste of sushi. It may sound absurd, but if you visit the most popular Japanese establishments, you won't find any women among the head chefs, even after all the commotion. We also invite you to debunk some myths and stereotypes that unfairly surround Japanese women. A few myths about Japanese women. For some reason, there's a misconception that many Japanese girls have misaligned bites, crooked teeth, and perpetual braces. In reality, this is a complete misconception. Quite the opposite. A trend has emerged in recent years among Japanese, Korean, and some Chinese women where they intentionally visit a dentist to misalign one of their canines. It looks rather cute in a Japanese style. Japanese women are bad cooks. Quite the opposite. They're good and very diverse. In Japan, it's not customary to pre-cook meals for the week, like a pot of soup or pasta for a couple of evenings. In the land of the rising sun, food is almost always freshly prepared, served in small portions, and women prepare a variety of dishes at home without reheating them. Japanese women are reserved and not tactile. This is a misconception because love hotels were actually invented in Japan, due to the need for couples to spend time alone while still living with their parents. Many colleagues at work also visit these hotels after 12-hour shifts to avoid wasting time on family and issues unrelated to work tasks. By the way, there's a fun myth that geishas are exclusively female. Although the majority are, in Japan's history, there were also men who held this title, known as taikomochi. They were popular until the Meiji period, when they became rare. But this tradition is making a comeback and male geishas are reappearing. Japanese flight attendants. Japanese flight attendants have long become legends on the internet. These poor girls endure so much due to choosing the demanding profession of flight attendants. Japanese flight attendants are practically modern-day geishas. They undergo a very strict selection process based on various parameters, starting with appearance and ending with tact and helpfulness. Those who have flown with Japanese airlines always speak with enthusiasm about these women who dedicate every second of their time to pleasing passengers. Sometimes this dedication takes a rather inappropriate turn. If you're familiar with Japanese fantasies regarding shows, it won't surprise you. In Japan, there have been organized events for wealthy men where women serve them completely naked. However, these are isolated cases and not a service offered by any airline, as some might think. Of course, in regular business flights, you won't encounter this. Instead, modesty and absolute tact are the norm. Nevertheless, even here, women face problems. Japanese women often raise the issue of harassment on board. Many cases have been recorded where it's not the passengers, as is commonly assumed, but the pilots themselves making indecent propositions to flight attendants with the threat of job loss. Conclusion. In summary, we have a fairly patriarchal society where it's not so easy for women to achieve self-realization. Of course, changes are happening and women are fighting for their rights, slowly but surely changing Japanese society for the better. Thanks for watching.